I'm for stopping Iran, very simply, from having a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, it's not a game changer. It is important. One thing you left out was earlier there was a reported attempt to board a U.S. chartered tanker, the Stena Imperative, in the Strait of Hormuz. So I think that both sides are kind of alert and are looking out for a threat. I think it's not a good time to approach each other's ships. And I think that there is, at least in the instance of the drone shoot down, the Navy is showing that it's not going to fool around with something that comes at it. They're not going to take chances. So, yeah, there's a potential for miscalculation. There's a potential for unintended escalation. Iran wouldn't be talking about negotiations, particularly direct negotiations, if it weren't for the military threat. But I think the military threat is here not because of anything the United States did, but because of what the Iranian people themselves did. And President Trump said that he was going to support them some way. Well, he hasn't so far. That was the real impetus to shift the carrier battle group was in the South China Sea. There's also a significant land buildup. So I think, President Trump does prefer to operate using the economic thing, and he portrays himself as the master of the art of the deal, not the art of calculated deployment of military power. But he knows, I think, that he's not going to get a deal that is favorable, a deal that is, affects what Iran has described as a red line, like enrichment of uranium on their own soil. He's not going to achieve that just out of goodwill or through superior negotiations. So I think the buildup is there, and I think it's there to ensure that some of these red lines are not so red. Well, what Iran has done, I don't think that there'll be a nuclear use of nuclear stuff, but I think Iran will let it be known that they are rapidly reconstituting their nuclear program if indeed it was destroyed. What we've seen is that regime surrogates and some regime officials have said, look, we're not going to suffer in isolation. If we are attacked, we are going to attack the whole region. And I've heard mentions of Trans-Caspian pipelines, infrastructure in places like Azerbaijan. One person close to the regime said the Dubai economic zone. I mean, they've basically said they're going to set the region on fire if they're attacked. So this is a very, very serious threat, and it shows that, quite frankly, Iran does not hesitate to threaten its neighbors when it feels that there's a need to do so. It complicates it, but it's not insurmountable. So with Midnight Hammer, the United States didn't use the airspace or really anything from its GCC partners. What we're seeing is that operations will either come from the sea or they'll be overflying Syria and Iraq, which are unable to effectively defend their airspace. So that seems to be the lines of approach. It would be faster and easier if we had base infrastructure in the GCC. And as we've seen, even if they're not used, Iran launched missiles at Qatar in the wake of Midnight Hammer, even though there was no overflight or basing out of Qatar. So there's an element of extortion here by Iran. It's basically trying to hold the GCC states hostage in order to constrain American activity. We'll see if that's a successful strategy or not.